if you don't have the belief system that will get you to take the actions that you need to take and to do some of the bold things that will really propel your business, then you're not going to get where you want to go. And
y'all, today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You are made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
And welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's show is going to be so great because I have an amazing guest for you. Her name is Nikki Nash, and she is a master marketer known for crafting mind-blowing strategies and assembling kick-butt marketing teams, as well as freeing visionary CEOs from the marketing grind. In a previous life, she helped Fortune 100 companies start tech startups and make more money. Y'all put your hands together for Nikki Nash. Nikki!
oh my goodness. Hi, Renee.
How are you?
I am so well. And I don't even think I told you this little secret, but Renee's actually my middle name.
Oh, see, now that's the best. We're like right here. We're like
Right
going to
here.
be peas in a pod today. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I'm so excited to get to know you better. I know as we were talking in the green room just before the show, we learned so many interesting things about you and your journey, and I can't wait for you to share with our audience. So, Nikki, why don't you get us kicked off and tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and how you started, first of all, on this marketing journey.
Yes. Well, I am a born and raised Jersey girl who throughout her life always loved creative things and honestly really thought I was going to become an actress. Like that was my jam. That's what I thought I was going to do. And long story short, I didn't have personal development or mindset training and coaching and all that jazz. And so I had a lot of mindset blocks, a lot of fear of failure, things like that. So I decided I'm not going to pursue acting. I'm going to go to college, went to college, thought I was going to be a journalism person, like an anchor for the news or a reporter out in the field. And long story short, I got into this program that taught you the business side of publishing of that industry and also the editorial side, like the journalists, the editorials, etc. And I fell in love with the marketing and sales people. They seemed so fun. And I ended up getting an internship at InStyle magazine. And then from there, I ended up getting a job at Travel and Leisure. Then I ended up in advertising, and it just kind of kicked off from there to being a marketer at Fortune 100 companies, and then moving into tech startups, and then ultimately starting my own business. And so for the last, oh my goodness, like aging myself here, almost 20 years, 19 years. So for the last 19 years, I've been kind of on that marketing journey, and it's been wild and a lot of fun.
Wow. Wow. That is so exciting. I mean, the last 19 years, how fun to be an intern, number one, at InStyle magazine. It's like one of my favorites. And then Travel and Leisure. So did you actually get to travel when you were with Travel and Leisure?
No, I was in that's probably the fun side of being in the editorial or journalism side, because you probably got to actually see the places that you were writing about, maybe especially if you were more senior. My traveling was like going to sales meetings with potential advertisers. So I did do, though, I didn't travel, but I did a lot of nice dinners, some spa treatments. Like I made no money, but I lived like I had money. My mom's like, who are you? I'm like, oh, just getting my nails done in the middle of the day on a Friday.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love it. And it's, you only live once, right? So, I mean, when you recognize your gifts and skills and talents, you might as well take full advantage of it in any way that you can, because it's just so important, because you got one life to live. So live it well.
Absolutely.
So as you were speaking just a moment ago, you talked about how you had a particular idea in mind of what you were going to do with your life, but you didn't have mindset coaching or mindset training in order to continue down that path. So I know that we were going to talk about some other things, but since you brought that up, how important would you say mindset is as we're getting ready to tackle anything in life?
Oh my goodness. It's probably the 80-20 rule. It's the 80. It's the 80% easily, if not more, because I see so often, especially throughout my career, as I advised and coached different like founders of businesses, if you don't have the belief system that will get you to take the actions that you need to take and to do some of the bold things that will really propel your business, then you're not going to get where you want to go. And it's so important. And it took me, I think, I don't even know how many years. I also think it's kind of like a mindset is an evolution. You're always working on it. You're always getting your mind right. You're always getting yourself set up to take those actions. But I am very aware that that is what can make or break a business owner, because it can knock you out of the game.
Yes, that is so true. I'm a witness. Okay. I can testify for sure that it is so critical, because as we're being exposed to new things as business owners, new situations, new conversations, new people, new levels of people, new audiences. If you grew up thinking that you were only capable of doing this much, but then other people saw and spoke into you that, yeah, you're capable of doing a whole lot more, and you believe them in your mind, you believe them, then you really start to take those steps that are necessary to actually live that out. You're like, dang, I guess I really can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that like there is a mix of spirituality in this for sure, because for me, a lot of the beliefs that I have to have in order to do what I do, like I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, not like I'm like people, I have clients that are like the universe, I have clients that believe in all sorts of things. I'm like, doesn't matter to me what you believe in, but if you believe in something, that can often help you as long as you reinforce those thoughts that like I am not alone doing this. Like I got support. If I'm showing up in a big meeting and I'm nervous, I'm like, Nikki Nash isn't going in here by herself. I got the big G standing right next to me in the meeting, and hopefully will be whispering in my ear to say something profound.
That's
So
right. Yes, absolutely. 100%. It's like, I can definitely relate to that. I'm like, Lord, give me the words. I don't know what to say. Yes, I totally get that. And I am with you like 100%, because it's so true that what we think about is basically true, because we become, I think there's a psychological word for it called a self-fulfilling prophecy, that basically if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're right as well. You know what I mean? So it's all in how we shape our mind, how we allow ourselves to think, how we transform that limited thinking into big thinking. You know what I mean? To living outside of those boundaries or those parameters that we set on ourselves, or that we were raised with. And so as we were talking, you mentioned the importance of people being around you. So how important is community as you are developing this new mindset to go into this new area and, take this new land, so to say? How important is community?
oh, it's huge. Like I have a mentor who will say he gives this formula, and now I need to hopefully remember it properly, because it's like scoring the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. And he'll
Mhm.
ask like, are they optimistic? or pessimistic, right? Like, are they successful or not successful? And whatever it is that they're doing, they don't have to be in the same industry as you. It's like, are they achievers? Like, are they like action takers, doers? And there's a fourth one that I can't remember, but I'm like, Nikki, you gotta figure this out. But each one is like 25% essentially. And so you rate, like, you really sit and think about it. And it's like, I realized a little over a year ago that it's not about who I was closest to in my life. It was who I was spending the most amount of time with. And I had moved to a new city and I was spending a lot of time with people who in general were great, but their mindset might have been way more pessimistic. Their level of like ability to push themselves to do great things maybe wasn't necessarily the same. Their level of success wasn't necessarily the same as where I was trying to go. And so that can take you out of the game. Like, I noticed plenty of times where, you know, I'm going to go do this. And people are like, I don't want to, or come hang out with us or come do this thing. And I found myself falling into a trap of getting distracted and doing things that were out of alignment with my goals, with where I was trying to go. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have to cut them out of my life. I have to cut them out of my top 5% people that I'm spending the most time with. Spend time with people. Just be careful of how much time you spend with people.
That part. That is so wise to come to that realization when you did, because we can, like you said, we can still have our friends, we can still hang out, you know, but who are the 5 closest people that we're spending the most time with? And I love that you mentioned that you have these goals that you actually like knew where you wanted to go and whether or not these were going to fit in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you have a way of keeping track or looking at your goals on a regular basis to see, you know, to kind of stay focused and not lose sight?
Yeah. So I have specific goals. I think it's great for people to have goals. I just watched this video. Again, my mentor, his name's Dan. Dan sent me, he likes to like text YouTube videos or like TikTok videos or things that he thinks will be supportive to me and where I'm looking to go. And there's this video, is about, I think, let's say 12 to 18 minutes. And a big part, the whole point of the video is what are the common factors of people who are wildly successful, like the 1% of the world that is like doing the things. And one of the big components that they listed was that they have goals. They have very clear, defined, intentional goals, like something that they're going for. But here's the thing about goals. And to answer your question, I set a goal, but then I back into what are the daily, weekly, monthly actions that I need to take to get there. And that's all I focus on. I don't look at the goal again, because when I look at the goal, what ends up happening is I'll look at the gap. Like, I'm here, the goal's here, there's still a gap, and that can take you out of the game. I just look at, did I do the 3 things or the 5 things I need to do today to hit my results, right?
Right.
And I can give you a really simple example for my personal life. I am on a mission to fit back into some very specific clothes. Like, I'm like, I will get my butt into this skirt, like into this dress. Like, I am determined. And I sat down and I'm like, all right, what things helped me be the most successful in terms of staying fit, staying healthy, etc. And these things were not complicated, right? Like, sometimes I try to do like, let me do this fad diet or this. No, the things were, when I intermittent fast, because I have a habit of snacking. And I've been a vegetarian since I was 9. I eat relatively healthy, but it's the quantity of food. If I'm snacking and grazing all day, those calories
Yes, they do.
They do. Doesn't it, like, 1,600 or like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, whatever calories of carrots, it's still 5,000 calories. I don't care. Like, I'm not eating that many carrots, but it's still,
I get it.
So I'm like, when I intermittent fast, I do well because I don't snack at night. I have to have my app. I use an app that like counts down, like, ooh, you're almost there. And it's almost gamified for me. I'm successful when I do that. So all I do every day is look at, did I intermittent fast for at least 16 hours today? Bam. Right? Walking. I walk a lot. When I hit 10,000 steps, or I try to do more, but when I average 10,000 steps a day, just as a baseline, then I know I'm at least moving, right? If I go to the gym 3 times a week, so I just keep basic things. And that's all I look at every day, every week. And then I'll check in a little bit, like, am I moving towards the goal? Cool. But outside of that, I try not to look at here's the goal, here's where I am too often, because then I'll be like, I still need to lose another X many pounds and I'm not there yet. Screw it. I'm going to eat a piece of cake.
Right.
Which turns into the whole cake, which really takes me off track.
Right. I get that. That is so smart. That is so smart to just think about your daily, weekly, monthly goals. Stay focused on those things and you're going to hit your targets. You're just going to do it. It's going to happen because you're focused on doing whatever it takes daily, weekly, monthly to get where you want to go. That's brilliant. Just brilliant. I love it. So kind of shifting gears a little bit. You've mentioned your mentor a couple times.
Yeah.
Dan, I believe you said his name is.
Yes, the infamous Dan.
I would love to learn more about Dan and what the future holds for you.
Yeah. So let me just really quickly tell you the wild story of how the heck I met Dan. Because I have a friend who we did a lot of business together for a number of years, right? Like we partnered together on contracts. We did certain things together. We had different skill sets. And so we were business partners, right? In that vein. And her husband got invited to, he's also an entrepreneur. He got invited to a private event that I think was talking about increasing your business revenue or something like that, right? And he could bring a guest. So he brought his wife, who was my friend, right? That I'm doing business with. She goes to this event. Dan is pretty much like the main speaker there. And she comes back and she's like, this guy is like telling us things that never heard before. It's insane, yada, yada, yada. Like we got to get into this private organization somehow, right? And it's invite only. So she eventually gets invited because she met some people there that she stayed in contact with, and she eventually gets invited. And then she's like, once I'm in, I'm bringing you in, right? So then she brings me in. And I get to go to an event, and she couldn't go to this one, but this one was called 10 Steps to Generational Wealth was the event, right? So it was longer than the event she went to. It was very much focused on generational wealth, not just building your top line revenue of your business. And again, Dan, big speaker, because he's made billions of dollars in business, right? And he's talking and he's sharing things that I'm like, mouth, like jaw on the floor. I'm like, I have been thinking about things different, like not in a way that is in alignment with where I'm trying to go. I didn't even know some of these strategies or things existed. And so I'm like becoming a member, right? So I became a member. I invited my sister in. I go to event after event, right? And somebody who is close with Dan, actually a couple of people that were close with Dan, I built relationships with, and I got invited. Dan does this week-long retreat, we'll call it. It's like he's done them at a ranch. I think a couple have been in other places, but it's all about how to create wealth. Long story short, I get an invite. And that's when I really got to know Dan, because it's like 8 to 10 people. It's a small group of people. You're together for a week. We're like hanging out, watching movies, going on tours, all sorts of things. And he got to know me. And then he's like, I want to mentor you, right? Like, I want to mentor you. And it's not, a lot of times people are like, oh, so is he like your business coach? I'm like, no, like I'm like, we don't have this magical agreement, like contract from coaching. He's literally like somebody in my life who is very clear on what, like he helps me set goals that I'm like, I would have never gone that high, but okay. Like I'm going to borrow your belief in my ability to get there.
Right. I love that.
Borrow some of that. And we've started doing some business together. So I was telling you in the green room, he has a private equity fund. He as an angel investor invests in over 100 and something companies. And then he has some of his own businesses. And in those businesses, we're doing like these rev share agreements for me to market and to build marketing plans and strategies and help support the team that he has, because I used to do fractional CMO stuff all the time in exchange for some rev share and for mentorship, right? And so that's been kind of our deal. Happy to share more, but yeah, that's been the big thing. And then because of that, I start sharing, hey, here are the wealth building strategies that he's teaching me. And I shared those with other people, and I started doing it on social media. I'm starting to do it. I'm building a whole new podcast. He's going to be one of my first guests. We already recorded it on that show where I just share the secrets of the 1% that aren't wildly available and known. And these things are like very much doable. Like he tells you step by step how to get from where you are right now to the next level. And then when you're at that next level, a whole another slew of strategies unlock, and you can then focus on that. But it's been great.
Wow, how exciting and how blessed and favored you are. I'm going to use those words, blessed and favored, because when people just want to be good to you, that's no accident. That is not an accident at all. So I am so happy for you that you are in this place and that you have such influence with not only your current people in your life, your friends who invited you to different things, and now your mentor who are exposing you to all of these other new ideas and concepts that now we get to be the recipients of. So excited for you. So excited.
Oh yeah. You want me to share some of these nuggets of wisdom, these secrets? Yes, just I literally love doing it. Plus, like, he wants it out there. Like, that's some of the companies that he's building now are really around how do we get this knowledge out there? But also, I'm just like, it reinforces, we talked about earlier, that in me, these lessons when I share them. So the first big aha thing that I took away, I'm sure he's shared a million things before he said this, but this is the first thing that clicked, is that he said, you can't build generational wealth when you're focused so much on making money for your lifestyle and growing the revenue of your business. He's like, generational wealth strategies have nothing to do with increasing the revenue of your business. And I'm like, well, dang. So I'll share more about that. But what he said first is that you have to get the number of hours you are spending in bringing in your lifestyle money, what he calls dimes, down to under 25 hours a week. Ideally, he wants it like under 20. For me, we're trying to get it to like 10, where it's like you're only spending that many hours each week on essentially like your business, the thing that's paying your bills, creating a good lifestyle for you, employing a really cool team, but you're spending like, let's call it half the week or less in terms of hours focused on that stuff. And it doesn't mean that you're like, a lot of folks are like, great, now I have time to go to the beach and travel. It's like, no, you're still working 40 or 50 or however many hours a week you were doing. It's now just though you have the space to be in the right rooms for unique opportunities for wealth building, to get the right education on what the heck the strategies are for wealth building, because it has nothing to do with the strategies for building, growing, and scaling a business, right? And it's being able to take action on the things that you're learning. So it's just, you're in a different space. It's almost, in my mind, I equate it to when people tell you to, say like, have money for now and then save for long-term investments or for the future. It's kind of like you need to split your time that way. It's your dimes, you're earning your dimes to fund your lifestyle and to even like pocket some money for or invest money for or save money for investments. And then you have what he calls dollars, which is your wealth building time and money. So you spend time on your dimes, you spend time on your dollars within each week.
So then, okay, I just want to make sure that I'm clear and I'm understanding. So we're supposed to, even though we're entrepreneurs who typically work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, we're supposed to not work that much on the business and building top line revenue for the lifestyle. We're supposed to cut back on those hours and fill in those hours with education of learning about generational wealth.
It's a like when you're starting, it's the education, because you need to, it's education, but it's also then connections, building strategic relationships, doing deals. So it's like you're taking action and you're doing things. And I can give you an idea of some of the doing deals things that I've been doing. But to answer your question initially, yes, it's like you gotta get from 60 to 70 hours a week on just the business down to 25 or less. And here's the big thing for me. And this is what kind of helped me with that. When I was building my business, I'm like, all right, how do I get this business to be like 8 figures or something like that. Now the business was built heavily on the Nikki Nash show, like me, right? Which meant
Mhm.
I would have had to duplicate, replicate myself, all those sorts of things. But I'm still building for a long time a business that the face was me, the name was me, people were like coming for me, which makes it hard to sell. And if I am selling it, not necessarily for like generational wealth money, right? Like the
Right.
multiplier on those types of businesses, especially if you're a coach, a consultant, a freelancer in a service-based business where you're the face of it, a personal brand, a creator, like you're not going to sell that business for as much as you probably think it's worth. You can maybe sell certain pieces of it, but the
Mhm.
business itself probably not. So I was like, so he's like, so why are you spending all this time trying to get it to 8 figures when you can leave it at 6 or 7 figures, live a great lifestyle out of it, and then invest in vehicles that won't require you to be the face of it, won't require you to do all these things, and will make you way more money? And I'm like, good question, my friend. Good question. And he's like, and if it's an impact play, you can still do things and make massive impact with that business without having it need to get to a certain revenue goal, thinking that's what's going to help you create the wealth that you want.
Wow. Wow. Like, so like the wheels are totally turning in my head right now.
Yeah.
Like, this
And
is
oh no, I was just going to say, like, there are some businesses that you can create generational wealth on. Like, you think of Zuckerberg and like certain companies, absolutely. But the
Mhm.
industries that I have been in and that I have been coaching and advising and mentoring people in, it's heavily service-based, personal brand, things that it's Tony Robbins. There are some rare ones where, like, yeah, you can have a crazy huge business with a lot of team and all that jazz, and it can probably still live on when he passes, because there are businesses that have done that, but those are
Mhm.
rare. Like, when you look at the probability of doing that, it's small. So instead of me trying to be like, get the one in 1,000 or a million chance, why don't I just do a different strategy that's like
Right. Yeah, it's
way more
doable.
probable? Yeah.
Yeah, more probable. Exactly. And so as we're thinking about building generational wealth, which is not the direction we were going to go originally when we were
Yeah.
talking about marketing, because I think as entrepreneurs, that is one of the things that we think about so much. Like, I'm working so hard to build something. I'd love to leave a legacy. I would love for to pass it on to my children, pass something on to them. How do I do that successfully? And it, where do I go to learn how to do this? That's the question. You know what I mean? Because it's like you have this amazing mentor. So besides listening to the new Nikki Nash podcast,
Yeah.
where else can we go to learn what it is that we need to do to start the ball rolling of, number one, changing the mindset of what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it, but then taking real steps to building this generational wealth?
Yeah, absolutely. So the practical things, and even though I do have this mentor, I still do what I'm about to share with you guys, because there are programs, communities, things along those lines that do teach wealth building strategies. I will say, first and foremost, the difference between other things that I have invested in or learned about and my mentor is that he's not going to tell you, like, you have to do real estate, you have to do this, you have to do that to create wealth. And a lot of other programs are very specific. They're like, this real estate strategy is the best real estate strategy. It's the one where you're going to be generational wealthy. Do this. Or even some that are a little bit more broad, they're still only focused on real estate. Where, like, for example, the personal plan that has been laid out for me is like, yeah, invest in some real estate. I have a frequency in which I need to buy investment properties that he laid out, which I'm like, totally, I'm going to borrow your belief in me for hitting those numbers. But there are also very much other things that you can do. People can invest in businesses. They can buy businesses. They can be an angel investor in businesses. You can do sweat equity deals where, like, That's essentially what life was like for me when I was in startups, where you're a member of the team or you're working or you're consulting in exchange for equity in something that you really have to believe has a probability of taking off, right? Because if it doesn't, you don't end up with money. But there are a ton of other, there's crypto, there's a million things, right?
Right. You end up being a volunteer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, there are a number of vehicles. And so a couple of things. One, Dan, my mentor, does have a university. It's called Blue University, and it does teach people. It actually teaches both. It teaches you how to grow and scale your business, because you do need to get it to a certain place where it's funding a good life for you. Like, like you're not like, oh, well, I can pay my bills. It's like, no, like you're living a good life. And then it'll teach you, like, all right, how do you do things that will increase your net worth? So he has, I'm gonna do it right now, y'all guys.
Yay.
He had given me some scholarships that I could give away to folks for the university. And I'm gonna do it on this show.
Wow.
So,
I wish we had a hand clap sound effect. This is so exciting. It.
It's like, so what I'll do, I know people are watching this right now and they're like, what do I do, Nikki? And I'm like, good question, because I decided this live on the spot. So what I'm going to say to do is to send me a DM. Like if you're on Facebook or Instagram or listening to this, send me a DM on any of those platforms. You'll get my social media handles. Just say like, hey, I'm interested in that scholarship. And I will, like, we can have a conversation about what that looks like how we can actually do that. Okay. So that'll be fun. I'm setting myself up for probably more conversations than scholarships, but I'll never know unless I ask, so I can ask some favors and say like, hey, got a little demand.
That's what I love that. And so we have up your Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Nikki Nash Official. Y'all heard it here first. There are scholarships available if you want to learn more about creating generational wealth. You've already put in the hard work to build a great business. So now learn what you need to do to take it to the next level and be able to pass it on to your next generation. And on LinkedIn, it's Nikki Nash at LinkedIn as well. So y'all send a DM and find out what you need to do and if there are any more scholarships available, because I know that this is going to go fast.
Yeah.
So definitely hit her up ASAP.
ASAP. Yeah. And even if you think like, oh, everybody must have hit it, the scholarships are gone, still reach out to me, because I may not have any more full scholarships, but I may be able to do partial or some other cool things as well. So it does not hurt to ask. That is the one thing I learned in my career, is that always ask, because people will make offers and the majority of people will, from a mindset perspective, talk themselves out of it. Like, oh, it won't be me. I won't get chosen. It'll all be gone. And then yet nobody reached out. So I'm like, actually, you totally could have gotten one, right? I have witnessed it in my own life. So I want to just share that with folks as well.
I love that. And that's it feeds right into my philosophy for life. You have not because you ask not.
Preach.
So I'm an asker. I love it. It drives my husband crazy. He's like, it's not written there that you can do this, 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 and this. I'm like, but just because it's not written there don't mean I can't ask the question. Like some people don't realize that you can totally take things back to a store even though there's a policy or whatever that says, oh, we don't, take refunds or whatever, you can take it back anyway and say, I know that your policy is this, but can you make an exception? Or if you don't want to pay the price that's on the tag, you can say, I don't want to pay this price. I want to pay a different price. You can make that offer.
Doesn't hurt to ask. Laughs, because we go out to eat and every time without fail, I make up what I want off the menu based off of the ingredients. I I basically want this, but I want you to add this, take away this. I'm like, looking, you have that because it's on the menu. And he's just like every time. So he already knows.
And oh my gosh.
I'm like, this isn't a customized situation. And I'm a vegetarian. So sometimes I think I just in my mind tell myself I can get away with it. Though, even if I wasn't, I'm pretty confident I would do it anyway.
Right. I've been doing that for years, and I'd never even realized that I did it, until I was out to dinner with some girlfriends or something that I hang out with a lot. And they were like, what? You never order straight from the menu. You never, never. You always do something different than what's on the menu. And I'm like, do I really? Because I never even noticed that I did that, but I totally did. Like all the time. So I get that. Well, that is so amazing. So thank you so much for that very, very, very generous offer. I'm so grateful to you for that. And so as we're talking more about our businesses and being entrepreneurs and maybe tracking back to marketing and, trying to get our business to the place where we can become, investors of other businesses. So I'm sure marketing has a lot to do with that, growing a business and getting it to where you want to be. So what are some common mistakes, Nikki, that you have noticed that entrepreneurs make when they're thinking about a marketing strategy or trying to execute a marketing strategy? What do we need to do and not do?
Okay. The biggest mistake I see people make is they literally try to carbon copy somebody else's strategy and game plan. And the reason why this doesn't work, I don't even care if somebody's selling you, here's exactly what worked for me. It will work for you. Doesn't matter. Like I'm like, I'm fine with people doing that with some caveats, because there are certain reasons why that strategy worked for that person. For example, I've had clients that are not, they blame it on being an introvert. I'm actually more introverted than I'm an ambivert, but I'm basically an introvert that in small settings and on video and lively. But outside of that, I'm like, I'm going to be away from people now and sit in a room by myself and love life. Like, I don't need to be around people. But like, they will watch somebody's strategy and they'll go, oh my gosh, that person's making millions. I should do what they're doing. And I'm like, but what they're doing requires you to be live on video regularly. And you hate being live, hate having your camera on, struggle with knowing what to say, all this other stuff. And like, that does not mean you can't get over it, right? Like, people ask me how I'm comfortable with video. I'm like, because I've been doing it for basically a decade. I started going live, I think in 2016 regularly. So like, it's nothing for me now. But like, you can either try to force yourself to get over all the limiting beliefs, fears, doubts, etc., to get yourself on camera, then try to force yourself to do it consistently, and then hope that you get results. Or you could go, what are my gifts? What are my strengths? What do I like doing? What am I good at? And how do I align that with what I'm going to do to grow the business? Right. And so I think that's a big one for people, because so often, and I get it, when you see somebody who's doing really well, making good money, you want to do exactly what they're doing. Right. I signed up for real estate investing programs going, oh my gosh, yeah, that's amazing. Look at those results. And then looked at the strategy and I'm like, why would I ever invest in something when that's the strategy? That is my worst nightmare. Like, I need a different strategy. That is like, forcing myself to do that and then blaming myself because I can't be successful at it. It's not that I can, it's that it's so much energy and effort to get me to do the things that they would have wanted me to do for that specific strategy, when there are plenty of other strategies that would be perfect for me.
That's right. Yeah. Don't make yourself do something that doesn't come naturally for you. I mean, unless that's a growth area for us that we really want to develop in, there's people that enjoy doing those things. You know 100%. What I mean?
And if you believe in this, and this is something Dan and I have talked about a lot, like the energy that you put into something is going to impact the result. So like, if my energy in doing something is like dread, hate, slow, disdain, and then I expect to make billions of dollars off of it, probably not going to happen. Like, probably not going to work out too well for me.
Not at all. Because there's no passion, there's no drive, there's no desire. It's like, you look at it, like you said, like, oh my God, I have to do this again. And you want to throw up. No, that's not how we should be trying to live life. We need to be living in our gifts, operating in our gifts, sharing our gifts with the world, and living out our purpose, not somebody else's purpose and plan for their life. We need to walk our walk. You know, we can't walk our walk if we walk in somebody else's walk.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Yeah. So don't try to be the other person and inherit somebody else's strategy
Mhm.
to as your own if it's not a good fit for you. So that's one of the things we don't do, but we should do what?
The first thing, so the first thing I would have people do, because the another mistake, which the solution is what to do. Another mistake I see people make is that they don't have the right offer package thing in the first place, right? And so because what you're selling needs to align, like the marketing strategy needs to align with it. And so I'll give you a really quick example. If you are marketing, actually, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. You want to think about what you're marketing, who you're marketing it to, and then really just, it's not, a lot of times people think marketing is complicated. It's basically just like dating. It's like understanding people. It's just
Mhm.
taking a moment to think. And so if you sit down and you think, all right, this is what I'm offering. Who would want to buy this thing? Why do they want it? Like, it's not about need, it's about want. Why do they want this? Why is this the thing that they want to invest in today? Right? Like, how is this going to make them feel? And when you can think about all of that, then you just reverse engineer and you go, okay, well, how do I get in front of these people? Right? Like, where are they spending their time? And then where are they spending their time that I want to also spend my time at? Right? So that we're like, there's a meet cute. Then you're like, all right, how am I going to get their contact information? Am I going to offer them something for it? Are they just going to give it to me willingly because I'm so awesome? Like, I don't know, but like, how are you going to spark that conversation, get their contact information? All right, ask
Mhm.
yourself that question. Then ask yourself, okay, great. Now, how are we going to go on our date? Like, what does our dating look like? Plan those dates in advance. Are they getting a free guide? Are they going to a webinar? Those work for some strategies. Maybe the strategy is I'm taking them out to dinner because they're a high ticket client, or I'm sponsoring one of their events and getting time with them. I don't know. You have to really think what makes sense for what you're selling and who you're selling it to. And then you want to ask yourself, okay, what is the way in which I need to make an offer? Do we need to get on a call? Do they buy direct from a webinar? Or is it hey, we're going to talk through the contract over the phone and then I'm going to come to you in person and we'll sign it? Because even though there's digital stuff, maybe they're old school. I don't know. You have to really know who your audience is and what is going to work best. And it's just simply asking yourself these questions. Who's the person? How are you going to meet them? How are you going to get their contact information? What are your dates looking like, right? Like, how are you nurturing that relationship? And what's the process for, if you like it, then you better put a ring on it. What's that proposal process look like?
I love it. I love that. I love the analogy because it is just so relatable. Definitely can get that. You know, you don't just jump into, blind marriage unless you're on that like TV show or something. But,
Married at first sight.
right. Yeah, that one. Most people don't do that. There's a whole process. There's a whole dating thing. There's a whole getting to know you. There's even a whole flirting thing,
Yeah.
that you people do before they actually even ask for a date. You know what I mean? So I love that as it relates to business, because that's totally what we're doing as we are building our networks and getting more strategic joint venture partners and things like that. That is totally what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I will say, just because I think people need to hear it, I know I needed to hear it. And I know that this is in like, it ties more to sales, but I do think it's something that begins with marketing and permeates through. And Dan does a whole lesson on it. I think he does like 2 in depth on Blue, but this is just a pure, I almost want to say like human psychology thing. Desperation will kill more deals than ever. Like, literally, Dan said to my face the other day that the reason he had to act like he didn't need the deal, like he literally just was like, all right, take it or leave. Like, we're going to do what's best for you. It's almost like, again, with dating, when gosh, men are funny. It's like if you are, too needy or too much into the guy and they can't chase you or something like that. Not that your clients are trying to chase you, but it's a similar concept. Then like the guy's not interested. But if you're just like, I'm living my life, I'm busy, suddenly everybody wants a piece of you, right? So it's like you when you're doing these deals or conversations with folks for your business, you want to be 100% a stand for what's going to be best for them. and let them and be like, hey, like I don't need you, right? Like I'm just trying to help you, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's that energy, it's a skill. It's something that needs to be developed because I get excited. I'm like, ooh. And I'm like, no, Nick, like you can't come across like this is for me. It has to be completely about them. And I even need to tell myself, like, I literally don't need this sale. I'm just trying to help this person and focus on them.
Right. I love that. What a great point to bring up. Absolutely. It just resonates and hits home, not just for me, but I'm sure for our entire audience, that, as an entrepreneur, when you have these discovery calls or are getting ready to put together a proposal and all the things, it's like you get it's a natural thing to be like super excited about, going into business with them, and that this is almost a done deal and they just have to sign on the bottom line and just waiting for it to happen. And if they know that you are thirsty, is that the term?
Literally, yeah. Don't be thirsty, people. Don't be thirsty.
Don't be thirsty. Don't be thirsty. Like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. And it's okay because that person wasn't for you anyway. You know what I'm saying? So not all business is good business. So there could be a reason why that person didn't sign off on your deal, even though it's the best deal for them. We just never know. And so when we don't give the appearance that we have to have this business or we need this business, then it ends up in our favor because they then now get to chase and be like, but what if I did this? Or what if, and they want to maybe sweeten the deal because we're like not that into them or giving the impression that we're not that into them. Right?
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. I can't believe that we are almost out of time for this show. Nikki, in closing, what would you say is something that I should have asked you that I didn't?
What is, I'm going to ask the question and then I guess I'm going to answer it, which I'm excited about. So I know the answer. I'm trying to form the right question because I'm like, people need to hear this. What is the number one way to, I can't, can I just answer the question that I don't know the answer to the question? I don't know what the question is, but can I just say like, what is something, here's the question. What is something that you didn't say on this show that you must tell this audience?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And then I can answer.
Yes. That's the question.
That's the question. I'm like, how do I form this question? Struggling, guys. I heard this story. My mentor tells a story of a guy who is an accountant, right? And he, in the spirit of cutting down his hours for his dimes, was like, the best way for me to do that is to get bigger clients that will pay more instead of focusing on so many clients that are paying less. And so my mentor was like, hey, well, I know a lot of people in your area that are big fish that you could have really great business with, and then you can have fewer big fish as opposed to a ton of small fish. So he is like, I'll come to you. I think he was living in a big city. He's like, I'll come to you. I'll invite my friends. We'll all go to lunch together. And then, you guys could get to know each other and some business may come out of it. Mm-hmm. So Dan tells his friends like, hey, I'm going to go meet with my friend. He's an accountant. We're going to lunch. Would you like to join? And they're all like, no, you have fun with your accounting friend, but I would love to see you all. You're in town. Hit me, like, let me know when you're done. Right. Mm-hmm. And so he goes, all right, just saying he's an accountant isn't sexy, right? Like people are like, oh, you're going to sell me something. Like if I'm like, hey, I'm going to my friend, she's a marketer, you want to come to lunch with us? They're probably like, I'm good. Like, like another marketer, right? Like, so what he does is he goes, all right, buddy, are you willing to invest in some things to kind of, Dan did not by any means use these words, but I'm going to like make yourself seem more sexy on paper, right? Like, so he's like, the guy had some friends that were in the music industry. So he invested in some of their albums so he could be a music producer, right? Then he did something else. I think he invested in a film or something so that he was a film investor or a film producer, executive producer in a film. Then he did some other things, maybe like, I don't know if the guy was attractive, maybe I don't know what he did, but he just did some things to like beef it up so that Dan's like, all right, I'm going to come back in town. I'll invite new people. But when he did it, he's like, hey, I have this buddy I'm going to lunch with. He's, music producer, film producer, does this other stuff, yada, yada, yada. And I'm pretty sure like he has an accounting firm too. Like he does a lot of stuff. You want to come to lunch with us? And the people were like, yeah. And they're like showing up. They're like taking pictures with the guy. They're like, this guy's great. And then towards the end of dinner or lunch, they're like, hey, by the way, I think he mentioned you're an accountant too, right? Yeah, yeah. So my accountant said to do these things. This is a situation. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Guy gives his thoughts. The people are like, I need to talk to you. I want to do business with you, right? And so the moral of this story is that perception is everything. Like Dan told me that despite his success in business, the things that people cared about when they were like, ooh, look, who's this guy? Was that he had a TV show? You know what I mean? Like all this other stuff that he had that was sexy. Like he started a publishing company, like a book publishing company, all this stuff. People are like, ooh, right? So because of that, some of the things that I've been doing, right? Like I invested in a movie. I'm about to invest in another one. So I'm an executive producer in films, right? So that like sounds sexy, right? I'm a published author. Hay House is my book publisher. That's been done a while ago. But like I look at different things that I can do. I just invested in a really interesting tech startup. So now I'm like, I mean, I want to do a few more before I purely claim that I'm an angel investor, but like, right? But technically I am, right? So it's like, you got to do some things that make it sexier so that when I'm meeting bigger clients and bigger folks, they're looking at me differently. They perceive me differently. And I wish instead of spending so much money on stupid things that I thought would grow my business, like the amount of money I spent on stuff that did nothing for me, I was like, I could have invested a quarter of that money into things that would have made me seem really cool on paper, but got me in the room with people that I needed to be in the room with so that I could grow my business.
Wow. Wow. That is pure genius. Love those golden nuggets of wisdom. Oh my goodness, Nikki, that's a mic drop situation right there. I wish I had like a whoop sound effect because that is definitely a mic drop situation, because perception is everything. And people nowadays, especially with AI, can put anything on a piece of paper. Yeah. But when you got the real stuff to back it up, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. It differentiates you, right? It makes you stand out from everybody else that's already doing what you're doing. And they're like, this person's interesting. That's cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I love that. And that, I think, is one of the greatest ways to wrap up this show. So before we leave, though, Nikki, can you one more time tell us how we can stay in touch with you? I know that there are going to be so many people who want to take advantage of those scholarships. How can we stay in touch after today's show?
Yes. So my website's nikkinash.co. It's getting a little bit of a makeover. So you can go there and it'll give you a way to contact me. But I think the best ways are social. Like hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on LinkedIn. Those are probably the top three. And just let me know that you watch this. Let me know that you would like a scholarship. And if you're interested in learning more about my book, it's called Market Your Genius. I can send you information on that as well. But I would say that's the best way to connect with me.
Perfect. And we're showing your website online. What a beautiful book. Market Your Genius. Beautiful pink background with these bold colors. Definitely want to stay in touch with you. Read all the books. Take advantage of the scholarships. I love everything about everything you've said today, Nikki. You have been such a blessing to us and our audience. Nikki, you were made for something great. So go and be awesome.